Hello, welcome back to the Done Deal Show on the Football Terrace. Some big stories to discuss with you in our community this morning. Arsenal now the favourites to sign Eze after it's reported that Spurs have pulled out. Chelsea, are they the unnamed club that bid for Joao Pedro? There's a big update on their pursuit of the Brighton striker. Plus, Man United signing Mbeumo. I think it's a guarantee. A big update from Fabrizio Romano that is somewhat different to what we heard from David Ornstein last night. But do us a big favor and get the like button smashed right now. Get this shared across your social media platforms. We're opening up the lines because we want to hear from you on this show. Your chance to phone in, get to the airways, to push your opinions out there on these stories and others. As ever, as I say, it's important that you like, it's important that you share, put this into the group chats as well. This is the Done Deal Show. Let's go.
Brian Mbeumo, many questions tonight, and so I wanted to do this video also to reply to Manchester United fans, because the reports are about Brentford rejecting a bid from Manchester United for Brian Mbeumo. Guys, the understanding is that Brentford constantly mention in the talks they're having also with Manchester United the price tag of other players in the market when they mention Mbeumo. This is why they want more than what Manchester United offered with their second bid. But my understanding is not that Brentford rejected the bid and talks stopped. My understanding is that the conversations between Man United and Brentford for Brian Mbeumo continue. So the two clubs are again in talks. The two clubs are trying to find a solution. Manchester United remain calm. Manchester United remain confident. Manchester United remain optimistic because the player, as I told you days ago, is giving total priority to Man United. Wants to go to Man United and told Brentford that he wants to go to Man United, as I told you a few days ago. So the position is very clear. He wants to wear red next season. Now Manchester United remain in active talks with Brentford to reach an agreement on the transfer fee. As of tonight, no agreement, but in the next days this conversation will continue. Man United will try to find a final solution for Brian Mbeumo to join the club, but for sure, this story is still active, is still alive, is not over after a bid rejected or a proposal turned down. So relax and let's see what's going to happen in the next days.
So look, a very interesting update there from Fabrizio. Yes, around there's been a little bit of a misinterpretation from a lot of people that things could break down. United could miss out on the player. United fans panicking. I think it's a really good and clear message there from Fabrizio. It echoes a lot of what I think. So I am aware that, I could be drawn into that because of confirmation bias. But I do think Manchester United fans should remain relaxed. There's ongoing conversations. They're moving in the right direction. They're really positive. You're talking details now. You're talking a handful of millions and structuring of this deal to get it over the line, to get it complete, to get it to where both Manchester United and Brentford want it. And I think that's what's really important here, is where they're both happy. So, look, I think that deal is a guarantee. I really do think that deal is a guarantee. I totally and utterly believe that it's very, very likely indeed that Manchester United get this over the line. No, not even likely. I guarantee it, just as an opinion, that this deal gets over the line. Is it going to be what Brentford wanted, £70 million base? Not in my opinion. I think it's more likely to be between 55 and 60 million as a base, rising to around 65 million with add-ons. And what I like about the add-on notion is, by the time those add-ons are achieved, if they're achieved, nobody is going to care about the price of Mbeumo, because it means he and the club are doing well. So get it done. Get him in for pre-season, which starts in about 2 weeks' time for Manchester United. Get it over the line. Stop all the rumour mill. Move on to the next target in terms of closing a deal out and get it done and dusted. But I thought it was an important message to play at the beginning, because from my point of view and perspective, there's been such in my DMs, Terry, what do you think? Oh my God, we're going to lose out on the player. I'm nervous. I'm worried, etc., etc. And I don't think Manchester United fans should be panicked about this deal at this particular juncture. I really, really, really do not. But as ever, look, you're entitled to your opinions. Get them in. We took calls on it last night. We're going to take calls. I'm going to open up the lines again soon for you guys to come in and have your say. Now, what's going on with the Eze situation? Look, the Eze situation, we'll be talking Chelsea and Joao Pedro a little bit later as well. The Eze situation is so interesting. I spoke about this last night on Terry Fleur's TV, that Ben Jacobs dropped what I think is the biggest bomb in this race yet. And he said that it's his understanding, and I think we have to premise this correctly, because Tottenham have been with the bookmakers, the front runners, for over 18 months to sign Eze. And according to Ben Jacobs, Arsenal, okay, entered that race officially 4 or 5 days ago on their list, inquiring, active, transfer on. What he has now stated is that he said this last night, so I'll read it verbatim. My understanding is that in the last few hours, Tottenham have backed off. He said the interest was genuine, but now it's really nothing more than that. And there's a huge question here, okay? It's a huge, huge question. Why would a team that has been active in trying to sign Eze for 2 summers, who have been the front runners, who have started conversations with intermediaries around getting because this was all the Spurs news. Not that Spurs directly had negotiated it, because there was no direct club-to-club negotiations, but via intermediaries, it was Spurs sources that found out that, yes, Crystal Palace would be willing to allow the player to leave for his buyout clause of 65 million, but for that 65 million to be paid in installments, I believe, over a 3-year period. Spurs have done so much groundwork in this deal. Now they have pulled away. And we had Aaron on the show yesterday. Aaron's an Arsenal fan. He says he takes a lot of what his football opinions, and I don't want to misquote him here. He looks at the odds market. He looks at what the bookmakers are saying, because they base their odds on noises in the market, stories in the market, where people are putting their money, the likelihood, and past history. Spurs have gone from the favourites to Arsenal being almost odds on. Arsenal have taken the lead with the bookmakers to sign Eze from Crystal Palace. Now, I suppose the only element still that maybe needs a little bit more clarity is I'm seeing a number of reports when they speak of Eze, and they're very much along the lines of Eze is an alternative to Rodrigo, where I'm sure what Arsenal fans will love to hear is that it could be Eze and Rodrigo, or Eze and another left-sided attacker that come in. But what is for sure, what is a fact, is that Arsenal are now the favourites. Arsenal have taken the lead in the race to sign Eze. And with Spurs pulling out, if this ends up being confirmed, and by the way, this was put out by Ben Jacobs. Let me check now when this was put out. The aggregators put it out nearly 15 hours ago. So it's likely that he said it 16, 17, 18 hours ago. As far as I can see, and by the way, I don't check every page and every source because I don't have the time, no major Spurs outlet has... What's the word for this? No major Spurs outlet has denied this, turned it down, said it isn't true. There's been silence. So from my perspective, I look at this and think to myself, it must mean something. Whenever you hear about a team just pulling out this quickly, this randomly, reminds me of when City pulled out of the Wirtz deal. It reminds me of when Manchester United pulled out of the Darwin Núñez deal as well. So from my point of view and perspective, I think there's something in this. Now, it may not be Arsenal that get him, although the bookmakers are now saying they're leading the race. I haven't heard too many other names. I've heard a bit of Newcastle and a few others that are obviously interested in him as a player. But by and large, when it comes to Eze, Arsenal now seem to be the front runners. And what a signing it would be. What a player he is. I think the step up the step up to the level I think he'll take to it like a duck to water, it would be a phenomenal signing for Arsenal. Now, maybe not the touchline winger that people want to see on the left-hand side, because he prefers to play centrally. So you may have an individual that likes to invert himself. And I know that word invert triggers a lot of people in the word football now, but it's been part of our game for a long, long time. So I don't know why people are, nobody was crying about what Frank Ribery and Iron Robin were doing 10, 15, 20 years ago, but suddenly it's a problem. Yeah, I think it's a real interesting one for me. It's a real interesting one for me indeed. Let's go to some of your comments. Why do you talk like you're on slow motion? Well, my voice ain't that great at the minute because I have laryngitis, but a lot of people in the last 3 or 4 days, and I don't know where this has stemmed from, have started taking the mickey out of how I talk, that I use my hands when I speak. I've seen I've had a lot of DMs again. Why do you use your hands when you talk and things like that? I don't know where that has come from. But I'm not going to change. So if you don't like how I talk, if you don't like how I phrase things, if you don't like the fact I use my hands when I speak, you can go fuck off. You go fuck yourself, because I ain't changing for no one. I don't know where it suddenly come from. Maybe it was a troll in the comments said it, but it's weird. The last 3 or 4 days, how I talk and using my hands when I speak has come up a lot. But me and my wonderful community, all 800,000+ of us across all my platforms, say, fuck you. If you don't like it, you don't need to be here. You don't need to be here. Anyway. I shouldn't do it. It hurts my voice. I swear 99% of people in this world use their hands when they talk. Yeah, I don't know where it's come from. I genuinely don't know where it's come. I've had DMs about it, and I'm like, well, people have just noticed now that I'm very expressive with my hands, and I do a lot of this and I do a lot of that. It's how I've always been. Maybe it's because you've got people that hate their football managers who do it, or I don't know. Maybe someone tried starting a YouTube channel and they can't get any views, so they're hating them. I don't know. I got the funniest comment I got yesterday. A guy in a live chat said, "We know you buy views and we know you buy bots." And then also said, "You have to clickbait to get views." And I thought, hang on. Why would I need to clickbait if I buy the views? Terry, very patronizing. You're blaming me for having a go at trolls. Again, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, there we go. YouTube negativity is mental. It is what it is. As I say, there's loads of YouTubers I disagree with, but I'll stand. What I would never advocate is anybody abusing them. What I'd never advocate for is people trying to get them shut down. That for me, or trying to like cause them problems, abusing them, attacking them for their appearance or how they talk. I think anyone who does that is a bit of a bitch, to be honest with you. And I don't personally know any YouTubers that behave that way. It's more trolls, really, or failures. So no one that's successful is ever going to behave like that. Nobody that's a grown up will ever behave like that. So yeah, I hear you. I'm not rattled, bruv. You're the one who's rattled because you're moaning at me. Anyway, let's get back to the football. Let's get back to what we're talking about this morning. Thank you for encouraging everybody, Luke, to hit that like button. I appreciate it a lot. I really, really do. And yeah, if you remember, get that copium button smashed right now in the chat section for everybody coping with how I talk. Yeah, everybody's good in the family, Dom. Thank you very much indeed. Craig here says, crazy with Zubamendi. It's not a big deal now that we sign him. We have missed out. It would have been the end of the world if you'd have missed out on Zubamendi. I hear you. Listen, that's why it was such an important deal to get done. Taking issue with how somebody talks with their hands, just moaning for moaning's sake at that point. Yeah. Oh, it's how intellectual people express themselves with their hands. Is that true? Well, I'll take that compliment if it's true. I'm not going to fact check it. I'm just going to accept it as the truth. Terry's trolls are nasty. They're not nasty. I want to give them a hug. They're not very happy people. I view it that way personally. No, I don't like my singing voice. Terry, remember, they are just mirror people. This is true. Toaster people. But yes, maybe mirror people is a different saying. There's a comment I wanted to put up that was about the transfer. And I can't find it now. Where's it gone? Where is it gone? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. From Matt, who says, could this just be Tottenham have briefed this to Ben Jacobs because Eze has chosen Arsenal over them and they now... Well, yeah, look, I mean, this is very much what it probably is. If they've pulled out, it's because they've found out that there's a high probability that Eze doesn't want to play for them. That's highly plausible and potentially likely. So most of the time when clubs brief that they've pulled out, it's normally because they have been rejected as opposed to the club have changed their mind. So, yeah, that's probably what they have briefed him on, if we're being absolutely honest. Yeah, I think that would most likely would be the case, which is why I think Arsenal fans shouldn't get overly carried away with this news that, oh, my God, we're definitely going to get him, because what hasn't been clarified yet, is whether or not he is the number one choice for Arsenal, whether Arsenal are going to wait. What could be the case, though, because we know Berta likes to operate this way, is he could start working on the Eze deal to get it to an advanced position where Arsenal will lead in the race. He could have worked on it so that Eze goes, yes, I want you. And then he could delay it slightly. Like he has done with Šeško and with Gyökeres, and wait a little bit, a couple more weeks. The World Club Cup ends. You know, if over the next couple of weeks he can delay things. And it all depends whether or not it's either or either or both. I think that becomes a really important fundamental part of this. And yes, we're going to talk about it later on today, but I've just read now, someone sent it through to me. I was very busy this morning taking my kids to football. But essentially, the price that Ben Jacobs spoke about on Wednesday surrounding Šeško has now reportedly gone down to the price that Arsenal are willing to pay. And if that is the case, it'd be so interesting to listen. It depends, because if Arsenal fans don't like Šeško, they're not going to be happy they're getting him. And I get that. But from a financial perspective, if Arsenal end up getting either or either for the price they set initially, it would make complete sense why they waited and didn't just jump in and pay £20 million too much. So, yeah, look, it will be very, very interesting again. Truthfully speaking, Terry, I love your honesty and straight shooting talk. Thank you. I appreciate it. And remember, I know you say real. I've got a little life lesson for you. Anyone that consistently talks about real this, real that, real this, real that, probably faking something. Do you want to know why? Because in life, you have to fake things. And that's going to shock you. I'll tell you how you fake things. I don't always tell my children the truth because you don't want to hurt them when they're little. Oh, that's a really lovely picture, Freya. Well done. So you got to lie there a little bit. Professionally, you got to have tact. You can't upset everybody that you're around on a professional stance. You'll get in trouble. You know, you might get stopped by a police officer. You might not want to be nice, but it'd be really sensible to do it. Doesn't make you fake. It makes you intelligent to know as and when to be blunt with people. People that are just blunt all the time, trust me, if you act, you might have a job where you get away with it. You could be a YouTuber and get away with it. You're not going to get away with that in normal life. You're just not. Simple as that. So let's move on. Disagree. Truth is king. No, I don't think so. I think there are times in life where tact is needed, and you can find 100 examples. You know, your mum turns up for a party and the dress looks awful, but she loves it and she's in a great mood. You're going to burst her bubble and make her feel crap for the party, or are you just going to tell her she looks nice? If you're someone that thinks it's right to tell her she looks bad, maybe if it looks embarrassing, it's a different conversation. But again, sometimes in life, tactfulness is needed. But anyway, we move on. We'll get back to football. That's what we are going to talk about now. The other big story this morning, I'm going to open up the lines now, actually. I'm going to put the link in for you guys to phone in and have your say, because I do want to hear from you. I do want to know what you think about these latest updates that have come out today. So let me just pin this into the live chat for you all. Why is this not working? There it is. I pinned it into the live chat. The other story that's come out today is that reportedly Chelsea Football Club are either one of the teams or will be one of the sides who bids for Joao Pedro this summer. And there's talk of this bid being as high as £60 million. Joao Pedro, obviously, therefore, being an an additional option as opposed to Ekitike, where the asking price for him is still sitting at nigh on 100 million euros. So what do we make of that? Because from my point of view, I said this about Newcastle signing him, so I can't change my stance for Chelsea. I'm not convinced. 60 million, I'm not convinced. If that report is true and they're looking to pay 60 million, I just can't. Someone here, so it says Darko, a credible Chelsea in the know, has said that Chelsea bid was rejected. Yeah, and I read somewhere else about that this morning too. Sky Sports also put it out as well that Chelsea are in talks with Brighton over Joao Pedro as well as Newcastle. Brighton want around 60 million. So maybe they haven't quite bid 60 million yet. But if 60 million is true, I know that the lap was cheaper because of a buyout clause. So don't get twisted on that. I just don't know if 60 million pounds on Joao Pedro is money well spent. I don't know how much more it moves the needle. I get it as a backup. I get as a backup to the lap. It makes sense. But I think you could get Mateta cheaper and he's better. He's also, I don't know, something about it. And this is where truth is king. I'm not going to sit here and break it down. I haven't sat there and studied this on a tactical level why it wouldn't work. It's not about tactics for me. He's a good player. He'll score some good goals. He'll have moments for Chelsea. I just feel 60 million could be spent better elsewhere. And I'm just keeping it 100 because I think Newcastle, are there better strikers out there? I mean, Ollie Watkins is a better striker. Someone here says, get Osimhen. Osimhen's a better striker. If you're going to drop 60 million pounds, 60 million pounds on Joao Pedro, I'm just putting this out there now. I want to make sure I get this right money-wise. That's 70 million euros. That's exactly what Sporting Lisbon want for Gyökeres. Now, I know Arsenal are leading that race, but listen, I think Šeško scores more goals in the Prem, and he's available for 70 million euros. I think Šeško would be a better option. Now, not everyone will agree with that point on Šeško. Don't get drawn in by it. But I think when you think of Mateta, when you think of Ollie Watkins, Gyökeres, Osimhen, I think they're better. I mean, the fact is, Fenerbahce are about to go and get Duran. I'm not sure if it's a permanent deal or a loan. You guys might know more than me. And that's a better option than 60 million pounds on Joao Pedro. I'm just not feeling this one. And by the way, if Man United pivot our striker target and go and get Joao Pedro, I'll say the same thing. I don't like it. There's something about it. I just don't. If you were saying, it's going to be a 30 million deal, it's going to be a backup, I'd say probably that's fair. But the price and the player has to go into the conversation because none of us have unlimited pots of spending. None of us have unlimited pots of spending. And I think there are much better options and availability out there for a club with the size, the pool, and the finances of Chelsea. The only element I would say about this is, does it come down to wages for Chelsea? That doesn't make me change my mind about the player. When I think about the fact that they're not really looking at Gyökeres, they're not looking at Joao Felix, they're kind of not looking at players who are already earning 100 plus K a week and or would want 200, 300,000 pound a week to play for them. Most of the players that you see Chelsea linked to are currently on low money, or they're in a bracket where you could bring them in for 80, 100, 120, 150,000 pound a week. And look, that's their strategy. That is Chelsea's approach. We know that they have it isn't a 100% blanket rule on wages because some players are above that 150 mark, like Enzo Fernandez, but they certainly have an upper limit range. And it does appear they are not looking at players who are demanding the very highest wages in Europe. And I suppose I want to ask this question. You then see a player like Joao Pedro for 60 million as a potential striker target over an Osimhen, over a Gyökeres. Do you think he moves the needle as much as they would? And secondly, is he even a better option than the lap that you got for 30 million? Are there cheaper second option strikers available, therefore freeing up 20, 30 million to invest elsewhere? And that's why I think it's so important, because there isn't an unlimited pot of money and you have to invest wisely. You have to invest wisely in the game of football now. And if you don't, there's always a chance that you could become a cropper. You could become a Roy Cropper. You really, really could. So I think you got to be careful on that. You do. Yo, hold on, Terry. Hit that high note. Kind of nice. Thank you, Eb. I appreciate that. I've actually got to go back to the doctors, though. The laryngitis is killing me. And you know what it is, right? I'll put this out there because I don't think you can tempt fate on this. Just want to make sure it ain't more serious. My gut feeling is they've told me it's a viral infection. I think it might be bacterial. That's one thing I said. They do it a lot of the doctors. They go, "Oh, you got a viral infection, loads of water, I'll be gone in a week." I had it with a chest infection about 2 years ago, and it wouldn't go away. And I went back and went, "Okay, well, maybe it's bacterial. We'll give you these steroids." 2 days on these steroids, it's gone. I've never had a problem since. So I've got to go back. But I'm all right. I'm all right. And if I'm not, you deal with it, didn't you? Illness. You deal with the illness, don't you? Just some more of your comments here. Terry, I doubt anyone will improve to the point where we will run away with the league. Yeah, no one's expecting you to run away with the league. But I do, if you've got £60 million to spend on a striker, there are better options for that money. Mateta, Gyökeres as examples. I think Ollie Watkins is better than Joao Pedro. The only difference being is one's going to demand, the other three are going to demand £200,000 a week plus. Where I think Joao Pedro might come in for 80 or 90. So if you're scrimping over the wages, and people go, well, why would you still spend the 60 million? Well, because if they bring a player in on 250,000 and he does well, suddenly all the other top performers are going to want the same money. And that's why the wage bill each year costs football clubs more than their transfer body. The big clubs, they spend more on their wages and bonuses each year than they spend on transfers. It's a much more important area to keep under control at a football club. And I just part of me, yeah, it's terrible. Not anabolic steroids. Come on now. Jesus tonight. Chewing, gargling, and eating raw garlic works for me. I'll give it a try. I'll try. I've got this like aspirin stuff I have to gargle. Not very nice. But there we go. It's just days. I also, yeah, we'll see what it is. I'll go Monday. Terry, we need an OF. Or an OnlyFans. You need an OnlyFans. There's loads of them. If this is what you need, you're not going to get it from me. I'm not getting out my boobies for anybody. But if you need that, then go do it. Like, I'm not one of these. I don't judge. And a lot of people now judge, don't they? Oh, it's got to be banned. I'm not really about that. Yeah, if you need an OF, go do it. It's not going to be me though. You don't get to see my bikini line. Do you know what I'm saying? I love it, man. I love it. Bonnie Blue for Terry. Yeah, it's one of those weird ones that I don't necessarily like. A lot of people hate those women. I wouldn't say I got any hatred for them. I don't advocate what they do, but equally, you know what it is? That maybe it's because I'm a little bit of I believe in. I suppose people have a belief that industry does damage people's lives, so therefore you should challenge it, which is fair. But I always find everybody's kind of morally bankrupt on those things. Have you ever noticed that? You'll have someone that will say things like, "Let's ban gambling. Gambling is terrible. Gambling ruins lives. What are you doing this weekend?" "I'm going out with the boys and I'm going to snort some coke." It's like, whoa, hang on. So ban gambling, but you do drugs, which drugs definitely don't ruin people's lives. Okay, cool. We should ban alcohol, man. Alcohol is really bad for people. Said by a man sitting there smoking while he's doing it. You get a lot of that in life, don't you? And I always find that weird. It's like you're allowed to be against things. I just find it weird that I want that vice and that vice banned because I don't like it or do it. But the vices I do like, no, they can't be touched. I think we're all like that to a certain degree, aren't we? All of us are like that. Thank you, by the way, to Bald with Beard Gaming. for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace. I appreciate that a lot. Remember, we've got brand new emojis and badges available as well. So there we go. Terry has premium OF. No, I don't have any premium OF. I don't have anything like that. But like, there are a few like OnlyFans women who I spoke to in the past. One who's only started doing it recently because she roasts people. The amount of blokes that like call her horrible names, and then she'll quote tweet them, and all of them have been in her DMs being horrible. Oh no, all of them have been in the DMs being nice. And then when they don't get any attention back, they become horrible. And I'm like, so is your issue what she does for a living? Or is it because you're part of what I call the 3 nuns club? Can't get none, won't get none, unlikely to get none either. Like, are you part of the 3 nuns? Is that why you're angry? Do you know what I mean? Like, in life, right? If you don't want to see certain things, if you just block people and mute them, they do go away. That's the bit I don't understand about socials. There's certain YouTubers I don't like to watch. So you click not interested on their content, you never, ever, 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 ever see it again. When I go through a period of watching a lot of MMA punditry, all I get on my timeline is MMA punditry. If I stop watching it, it disappears. If I click not interested, it disappears. So that's the only bit I don't understand, really. But anyway, we digress again. Some of your comments are so funny. Astrid Wet is the worst. I mean, I haven't met Astrid Wet. I don't know her. Again, I don't advocate for what they do. Equally, I just have all those accounts. I just don't see any of it on my timeline because I mute it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. My Twitter feed. I don't see politics. I don't see wars. I don't see OF. I don't see anything other than football because I block certain words and I click not interested on things and it goes away. The funniest one is when I'm not going to get into this, but when I see people tweet things like, all I see is bigots on my timeline. Maybe look at how you're tweeting. The algorithm throws back. So, people go, all I ever see is these horrible things on my timeline. It gives back what you put out. Because my timeline's great. Because it's what I like. Does that make sense? I'm just saying. Hold that mirror up to your face. Anyway, we're not getting into this. Let's take your calls now, people. We've got Anton coming on. We've got Goodwin coming on the show as well. First up, though, we've got Ian jumping on the show with us this morning. Let me put my earphones on and get this turned down because I had it on loud so I could hear. But let me do this. Ian's with us now. How you doing, mate?
Morning, mate. You all right?
I'm very, very good. Very good. Obviously, United last night been rejected for Mbeumo, but every camp and every outlet is saying United are relaxed. It's essentially close. I think it's a guarantee to happen. How are you feeling about it, mate?
Honestly, pretty much the same, mate. I am a little bit of the nature. I'm agreeing with you 100%. I don't want to go in and overpay. But all these people, the word overpay, I think it gets stretched, shall we say. Now, I think I heard you say before last night with KJ, say 65 million, right? Let's just go for that as a ballpark. If we offered 50, 60, and they went, no, we want 65, and we just jumped up and went, there's 90. That's overpaying. That's stupid. But keep trying to go lower, eventually they're going to say yes or no. We're going to hit the price. It's just a few million here or there. They want more guaranteed add-ons from what I can hear. But, yeah, honestly, it's done as far as I'm concerned. I think the medical will still be Monday.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of credible reports yesterday that the medical was booked in for this week. So that's why, from my point of view and perspective, I'm still relaxed. I think it's details. I actually think as well the news is 3 or 4 days that we got last night is still 3 or 4 days old. So you probably find that we've moved on a bit since then. And I think people have got to stake. I saw a few comments last night to Ornstein's tweet, but I don't understand why negotiations take so long. And it's because the irony is it's the reason that also counteracts your second point, which is we're working on multiple deals. Brentford are working on multiple deals. The clubs at Brentford are trying to buy. Exactly. The clubs at Brentford are trying to buy and sell to, and the clubs that Man United are trying to buy and sell to are also working on multiple deals. And it's a massive machine, a massive organism. it isn't just the whole world is in Mbeumo, Man United, Brentford, and that's all they've got to focus on for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
That's why it takes a long time. So that's where I think we've got to remain relaxed. And again, it's funny because every journalist has pretty much said it's still in a good space. United are relaxed. Yeah. And the big update from Ornstein last night that everybody ignored is the player. It was reiterated again. The player has told both Brentford and Tottenham, I only want Man United. Hearing those words, I think we should just stay relaxed personally.
Completely, mate. Utterly. Do you know, I get almost a little bit of a Real Madrid vibe for that. Now he's come out and said, I ain't going nowhere unless it's to United. Are they a little bit stuck now? They kind of have to deal with us now. Because otherwise, does he wait a year and we go, all right, then we'll have you in a year? Nothing. Zero.
Well, no, they've got they can extend his contract by a year though. That's the only.
Oh, they got to get a year plus another. Sorry,
yeah, they've got that extra year, which is the only frustrating bit. I agree with, mate. But Ian, listen, mate, I appreciate you coming on.
Hell, 1 second before you go, come here, little man. Come here. I saw yours the other day. This is one of my little men.
Oh, look at him.
What is yours?
Mine's a German Shepherd.
Yeah, and he says Shepherd Rotty crosses. We've got 4.
Oh, what cross with a Rottweiler? Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Them.
Yeah, they're all going to start jumping in now. That's right. You have a good day, mate.
Lovely. Cheers, Ian. Speak to you later, mate. Take care. Buddy. Thank you. Anton is joining us on the show now. Morning, Anton. How are you?
How are you? Good morning. I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of break down how I think Arsenal's window is going to go, because I've actually taken a bit of time and kind of put the pieces together. And I kind of want to, especially for the Arsenal fans in the audience, kind of break it down, because I just kind of want to use all the evidence and kind of create a big puzzle of what I think is going to go on at the end. Does that work for you, Terry?
Go for it. Go for it.
All right. So this is kind of stuff I've been basically hearing from, all of us, from the credible journalists. And I want to go back to the start of the summer when Sky put out a report that Arsenal had a budget of £100 million. And I found that a lot of Arsenal fans are freaking out, £100 million. But what they don't get is that Arsenal like to do deals in installments. So the big deals are probably going to be average around 60 each. If you combine them all together, will probably end up being each of them $20 million just this year, and it'll be spread out across 3 years, probably, most likely. Yeah. So if you look at the deals Arsenal's done already now, you've done Kepa for 5, plus 9 for Norgard, and then you're going to have then you have the Zubimendi, which is one of the deals that are done in installments, right? And then you're probably going to get Mascara, who is probably going to cost around 20 million. So so you kind of get where we're at. So this is kind of where I started getting my spark. The other day when Ben Jacobs was on your show and he dropped the Eze Jacobs cracker live on the Football Terrace. And it made me think, because he was talking about how Eze was a alternative to Rodrigo, but I kind of had been listening a bit further. So when Fabrizio was talking last night about Madueke, and he was saying he was on a winger list, not a left winger list, a winger list. And I'm like, well, Madueke doesn't play from the left. He plays from the right. So he couldn't possibly be an option for the left. And then it goes back to, I think back to Ornstein a couple of weeks ago. He said the Arsenal want 3 new attacking players, not 2, 3, which includes most likely a backup to Saka being the other one, right? So then I'm just thinking, Fabrizio goes back and says, look, the best is yet to come for Arsenal. Arsenal want to do way more. So this is kind of how I think it's going to go out. That's basically all the evidence that's been put out. I think Arsenal is going to buy one of Gyökeres and Sesko. I think that's almost a guarantee. Wouldn't you agree? One of them will be an Arsenal player.
Yeah.
Right. So here's my thing. I think Mascara comes in as well. And I don't think that Arsenal is going to wait around for a very long time, because I think they need to have some sort of attacking left winger or right winger on tour with them. So I actually think, given today's talk about Tottenham pulling out, that Arsenal's really serious on this Eze thing. And of course, there's also links to Rodgers, who plays a similar position. I actually think Arsenal's going to pull the trigger on Eze, and he'll be on the tour, which gives Arsenal flexibility in this way. You mentioned the deal. Martinelli is wanted by Bayern. So let's say Arsenal is told, Rodrigo's not for sale. I think they're happy with Eze over there. But I think if Rodrigo's availability has been made public, they're going to look to move Martinelli on, which is going to make about 60 million on the deal, which is going to open up the funds available then to get Rodrigo, because I think that is what's going to make more sense from Arsenal in terms of a balance into the team. You got Rodrigo who can play the left. You got Eze who can now play maybe in the Odegaard position. He could also play on the right. He can play left 8. He can play on the wing. So like Arteta likes players who are really versatile, and I just think it makes more sense for Arsenal's team. And then I think that Kivior and Zinchenko get sold, and Arsenal later on in the window towards the end go for Hato. So Arsenal's team would look like this. And you tell me if you think this is a team that could win the league or challenge Liverpool or wherever you think this puts. So you got the Gyökeres or Sesko as your first striker. Havertz is the backup. On the left, you have Rodrigo with Trossard as the backup. Attacking midfield, you have Odegaard or Eze, depending on which you want to play. On the right, you'd have Saka with Nwaneri as backup. So you haven't really blocked Nwaneri's growth in the team as well. Central midfield's pretty locked in. You got Rice, Marino, you got Zubimendi, Norgard. This is where I think this is really Arteta-ish. You go to the back, because I put Hato as well. So you got Skelly and Gabriel, but then Calafiori, Hato, both can play left back or left center back, which is versatile. They can fill in either role. And the same thing happens on the right. You got Saliba and Timber, and Mosquera and White are also both players who can play right-sided center back or play right back. And then, of course, you got Raya Kepa. So, of course, this team is got that versatility that Arteta likes, players who can play and fit in multiple roles. And I think it also fits within the budget, that £100 million budget. What are your thoughts on what I just said? Does that make sense?
No, there's a lot of what makes sense in there, and I think it's a guarantee you're getting either Gyökeres or Šeško. I heard yesterday on Straight Facts when the boys were talking, well, they've still got to get a striker. It's like they're going to. What we're doing here, I think if they really want to, if you really want to make a splash, if you really want to make a statement this summer, get the striker, get Eze, and then another top winger. Whether that's someone on the left who purely plays left, and then Eze is kind of used. The one thing that Arsenal fans didn't like that I said yesterday, I think if you sign Eze and start to deploy him centrally, I think he could eventually bench Odegaard, or at least change Odegaard's role within the team away from the attacking midfield role. He's that good. If you want to make that splash, if you want to really throw the cat amongst the pigeons, get the 9, get Eze, get a Gordon, a Leao, I'm just throwing out names that Arsenal fans here and there like, a Leao, a Rodrigo. Land those 3 in your attack. It then gives you some versatility with Saka, because Eze can go out to the right if he needs to, Nwaneri can go out on the right. So there is that cover there as an example. But it gives you great strength in depth. It gives you firepower, speed, goals, Premier League know-how, a really good mixture of all those things. So there's Lookman that you've also been linked to today. I've seen the AFTV. I'm going to watch what AFTV have said before I speak about it, because I only saw the link just before it went live. But no, I think what you've said holds a lot of water. And I do get the criticism to a degree. I reflected on it last night. Arsenal, they shouldn't buy the backups first.
Right.
I disagree with that. I disagree with the notion, but I understand why people are saying it, because people are saying, well, hang on, you've added some depth, but you haven't actually improved the first team. You haven't actually improved the squad overall. And they're right as of the 28th of June, but do you think they will? And in my opinion, I think you're signing at least 2 very good attackers, maybe even 3. If you add 3, it gives the great thing about this is we can just certain Arsenal conversations can stop. Arteta has then fully been backed. Nobody can say he hasn't had good players. Secondly, the guys that hate the way you're run for a short period of time can be quiet, because actually you've dropped big money. You bought some really good attackers, although you'll probably find they won't like the players you sign if you get them, but that's another conversation for another day. So at least it should shut down the majority of the conversations around Arsenal, and it can just move on to maybe something a little more fun, which is where do the players fit? How will we play? What the roles will be? And then you can assess it when they start kicking the ball. So that I agree with.
See, that my thing here is that I didn't get the rage, because you're looking at the puzzle pieces rather than the puzzle. It's like take an individual piece out of the puzzle, it looks different than when you actually place it into the whole puzzle. Like, okay, it might have come in a different order, but Norgard, why are we outraged about Norgard? I feel people are just getting upset for the reason of being upset, or they just got an agenda and they want to fill it. Like Zubamendi, he's coming in, he's an incredible, huge signing. You've got that guy, and then you got a Premier League proven guy sitting behind him who, you know, was captain of Brentford. Like, people don't understand if you really look back. I think Rory broke it down on his channel really well, Rory Jennings. He's saying that, like, this is a guy that Thomas Frank really, everywhere he goes, he brings this guy in. Like he has been the captain, like, of this team. Brentford is a small club, and now, like, they've become a very safe club, and that he's a big part of that.
I agree with you. I look at it this way: some people have had meltdowns before. It's a bit like it's Christmas morning. You've asked for a PlayStation off your mum and dad. You've asked for a brand new bike. But, you know, so far you've opened up, and I'm going to use old presents because when I was a kid, I don't know what the new stuff is. Oh, okay, you bought me a new album. Thank you. Okay, I got some new slippers. Oh, there's some selection boxes of chocolate. And you're losing your mind when there's still a massive pile of presents to open because you haven't opened up a main one yet. I just think there's a little bit of that going on here. And Man United fans are doing the exact same thing. Although we're angry over things that we shouldn't be, because we were told that we were going to only buy kids this summer. We basically bought one. We're about to move on to the second. Experienced, Prem proven, mid to late 20s, top level players that are retainable. And we're still not happy. And I think there's an element of that. Twisted Bubba here with an interesting comment says, Terry, why would you go for backups first and leave other clubs to negotiate with your main targets? That makes no sense. Well, this is the thing, Maradon. What you've said is right if in reality that was happening to Arsenal. But both Gyökeres and Šeško only want Arsenal. Nobody else is negotiating with them. Man United are trying, but it's well documented that he said until Arsenal pull away, no. So therefore, whilst Arsenal are driving the prices down on both of those players, they have nothing to worry about. If the news, when you guys were you guys could move a bit quicker with Wirtz because the clubs wanted him for the Club World Cup. But while you were negotiating his price down, the reason why you guys were able to, you got it done early because the conversation had to advance early because Bayern Munich and City wanted him. Once you got into the flow, you were able to drive the price down as soon as City and Bayern Munich pulled away, because you were then no longer under any threat of losing him. So Arsenal don't need to move on in that way. If the reports today turn out to be true that Eze has gone, nah, Spurs, I want Arsenal if they want me, again, they're not in any rush to get it done because of Tottenham, if Tottenham have pulled away. So to your point, it holds water in certain circumstances. But if my main targets only want, like Man United, Brian Mbeumo only wants us. So if tomorrow morning we announce a signing of a backup fullback and a young player that's going to be a midfielder for us who's 18, I'm not going, oh my God, we should have got Mbeumo done first. Mbeumo only wants us. There is no threat. So I get where you're coming from, but there isn't a threat to Arsenal's main target. Where I will agree with you, if in a week's time they go, right, we've agreed to deal for Šeško, and then Liverpool take him off them, and then Arsenal have made a mistake, then we'll criticize them. But there's no word of that happening. So what I can't do is criticize Arsenal for something that isn't reported on as going on, and so far isn't likely to happen. Criticizing them for something that isn't being reported on, there's no word of it happening, and is unlikely to happen, seems more like an agenda than analysis. Like the Man United fans for 2 weeks going, man, we're going to lose him to Spurs. We're going to lose him. There was even reports on that, but I still felt it was over the top because no one credible said it was going to happen. No one that, if those same journalists said tomorrow that Man United are signing Mbappe, it'd all laugh at them and go, you're not credible. But suddenly, so it felt more of an agenda. So yeah, good comment, good challenge. Anton,
can I add something? Can I add something to that as well? By the way,
go on.
The backup players are just easier deals to negotiate and get over the line quicker. It's just easy business to do. You can just get it done right away. Instead, the other deals take longer because you're dealing with players with big transfer fees that are valuable to other clubs. It takes a long time to do those deals versus the smaller deals. Like, that's why I don't freak out. Why are you doing that first? Because it's easy.
No,
sometimes I'm You get all the easy bits.
You look at Isak. You look at Isak to Liverpool. Isak to Liverpool may end up being their biggest transfer this summer if they pull it off, biggest financially. Their main target for a number 9. Well, haven't they got that done before the other players? Number 9s are the hardest players often to sign because of the price and how hard and that they're a finite commodity. I believe there are far less 9s at Isco's level than there are other top players in other positions around the world. I think there are more centre backs of a higher level, more CMs, more wingers, more goalkeepers than there are 9s as good as Isak. But Liverpool have left it to this point because this deal dictates it. It takes that long. Scenarios are really key. And listen, there is always a risk. And this is the thing, Maradona. I agree with you. There is a risk that if you leave it, you can lose a top target. We've seen that happen before. But there are risks in everything you do. You could also, this is the thing, Maradona. We want to play hypotheticals the whole way. And by the way, this is a man who hates if buts. That's funny. You must have seen on the show how often I get criticized as using if buts and maybes. All the criticism of Arsenal right now is if buts and maybes by people that say don't do if buts and maybes. The mirror people, Mass. It's a new one. Ian's got the mirror people that literally say things they do. It can work the other way. Yeah. What if Arsenal rushed into a deal and signed Šeško, and then in 3 or 4 weeks' time, Isak hands in a transfer request and he's open to leaving for multiple clubs, and they've already signed something? Then you could go, "Oh, Arsenal was stupid; they went too early," and that would also be leveled at them. So again, you can find a negative in anything. You could find the most positive moment in your life and you can twist. Oh my God, the wedding day was beautiful weather, sunny and hot, the amazing location. Everyone I know and love was there. Yeah, but it's really sunny. So that's dangerous for people's skins. You spent loads of money. Now you're in debt, and that could put pressure on your marriage. You could be divorced in a year because of it. You could twist anything good into a negative if you're in that disposition, I think. But listen, Anton, thank you for coming on, mate. I appreciate it.
Good. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, bro. We've got Jack on with us next. Thank you, Anton. Jack, what you saying, bro?
I'm doing all right. How's your day going, Terry?
Yeah, very good, my friend. Very good. What are you here to say?
I'm here to say about, well, there's 3 things I would like to quickly say. One is about the Joao Pedro news. Also Gittins, which I'm really hyped for because I've researched him a bit more. And also just a little message to Arsenal fans. The message to Arsenal fans will be quick. If you get all your targets, I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a thing here. You must at least win the Champions League or the Premier League, at least. Because if you get these good players, with Arteta being there for so long, you must, like you said to my club with Chelsea, you must win the league. At least. And for Gittins, like when I've looked at it and looked at other videos for Jamie Gittins, he actually is a different type player than from Sancho. Like Sancho can't go like both to the side and also in as good. When I looked at Gittins, he can actually go out really well, and then when he goes into the box, he quickly gets his shot out. So for Gittins, I am really looking forward to seeing how he does. It seems like we are so close to just waiting for the here we go, and I'm just praying it doesn't happen.
I think Gittins is a really underrated player. The more I watch him, the more research I do on him. I think he's what I call an underrated masterstroke. I think he's going to end up being a really good player for Chelsea, and a player that other clubs maybe should have looked at. I think he's really good, really good.
Yeah, and for Joao Pedro, I would say for him, if we do, obviously Newcastle's there as well, because we've both got Champions League football, so we're both evenly matched on that. So I would say, like for Joao Pedro, he's a good versatile player. He can play as a striker and he can play as a winger. So say like if we did get Gittins and Gittins gets injured, we could play Joao Pedro there in the wing. Or say like if Liam Delap gets injured and Jackson has somehow got another red card, like he did in the Club World Cup and the late of the season Premier League, God help me, he could easily play striker as well. So he's played in different positions, which could be actually really useful for Chelsea.
No, they certainly can. On your point about teams have to win the league, is that you being not salty but throwing it back at Arsenal, or do you actually believe they must?
No, I believe they must, because like they've came second so many times these past seasons, like just losing that margin. If they get someone like a Gyökeres and maybe like an Eze, who actually I'm not gonna lie, Eze is a pretty good signing. Gyökeres is a banger of a signing. If they get Gyökeres, Sorry if I'm butchering his name if I don't say it correctly. Because like Gyökeres is like a goal machine. He's a machine for goals when he gets a chance. So, and I think that's what they've missed, a clinical striker.
I look at it this way. When people say you must, it's a phrase that's troubled me for a while, and someone explained it to me the other day in a way that made more sense. There's 3 teams that go into this season who must win the Premier League, and you get people who go, well, not everybody can. It's true. What I think it means more, and it's just the new way of articulating it, is only winning the league will be deemed successful for you this year in the Prem. And I agree. I think for Arsenal, Liverpool, and City, the only successful Premier League season they can have is winning it. Coming second, coming third. Again, some will say it's failure coming second. Again, not everyone likes the language, but the only successful season for them in the Prem is winning it. However, not winning it doesn't necessarily mean the whole campaign has been disastrous. You may win a couple of domestic trophies. You've got the Champions League. But I think that all of those teams that have been in the title races for the last 3 years, the only fully successful Premier League season you can have is winning it. So I do agree with that.
Yeah, like the whole campaign. Yes, I'm not saying the whole campaign. I'm just saying I've looked at just the league right now. I'm just saying league-wise. They've gotten close. So I'm just hoping, as obviously as a team that can't challenge right now, but I'm say like for the title, but I could be contending to try. But obviously we know probably halfway through the season, we're probably just going to dip down of that kind of form because of they've never been in the title race. So yeah, I would say for us, minimum top 4, minimum for Chelsea. But I'm only saying for the Premier League or Champions League, they must. If they win the other titles, say like the FA Cups, the Carabao Cups, that's still a good season. It's just not one that should be for where they've gone to and how much they've progressed.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say.
I hear you, Jack. Listen, thank you for coming on, mate. I appreciate that massively, my friend. Thank you. We'll speak again soon. Take care, mate. Thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry to everyone else that is backstage. There's about 10, 11 of you. We are at the end of the show. I'm sorry. We'll try and get some more callers on the next time. Apologies, gentlemen. It is all men, isn't it? Yes, it's all men. I want to thank you all for tuning into the show today. We're back with more content later on, including reaction to the Chelsea game later today. Do me a big favor and hit the like button before you leave and make sure you're subscribing. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.